Yes.
By the way, I'm planning to release the new version of Falco Psychic in 2 or 3 weeks, maximum, maybe 2 weeks. And it will be time to see if all change we did about cosine, S-bond, etc. is working or not.
Yeah, that's cool. And also, were you planning to add that to Falco Sidekick UI as well?
Yeah, either.
Yeah, I opened an issue for you on that one, and it's the only image that we distribute that it's missing. Actually, hey Max.
I need to see exactly how you did the trick for Psychic and replicate that for Psychic UI. Yes.
Yeah, so I think oh, there's the best as well. Cool, nice. I think you are the two that reacted, so we can, I believe we can start and update a little bit. So let me share let me share my screen with a bit of interesting information about our project. And let's take a look at the project tracker. I was just saying that we did a bunch of these, and we wanted to add something. So I was just speaking with Thomas, and he said that we are ready to release in a couple of weeks the next version of Falco Sidekick, which will also have signatures with cosine because they have been added. And the only repo that it's missing is Falco Sidekick UI. And basically, Falco Sidekick itself was done, I think, by Carlos.
Yes.
I think Carlos added that, and because it's got also S-bomb, and it's got a bunch of things. It's going to be hashes, and it also has a salsa provenance attestation. So I would suggest, I think the signature is automagic with Go Releaser. I think the Go Releaser does the automatic signature part. I would say, Thomas, take a look at the pipelines that release Falco Sidekick UI and take a look if they're missing something. And Carlos and I can help in case we don't have permissions, or maybe I remember that we had to set the permissions here for ECR. I remember that we have changed this for the permission for ECR. Do you think Falco Sidekick UI will have the same problem? That needs permission?
I don't think so, because the images are already pushed into ECR for a while.
Okay, cool. So it's just a matter, I believe it's just a matter to install cosine, and maybe if you can contact Carlos if you have some doubts. Otherwise we can take a look at it together, but I think it's not going to be complicated to do the exact same that happens in Falco Sidekick to make sure that it exists in the UI as well. And the UI is also UI, and the UI is also Go, right? So
yeah, for the backend, but the front end is JavaScript. So for the Docker image, it's not a big deal because we can create the signature for the whole image. But for the artifacts, for the binaries, to be honest, I don't think a lot of people are using Falco Sidekick UI with direct binaries. But
yeah, I think as long as we have the signature, I think we are happy, because that's the first important thing that we want, and probably Carlos can assist even for the little things there. But yeah, sure. And we'll update in the next couple of weeks when you get closer to releasing UI as well.
it could be in August, I think.
Yeah. Okay. No rush. So I just added the issue for you there. The other things that are happening is that, and that's the one that will close this issue actually. So the other thing that is happening is that these ones we are still discussing, but we didn't go far, but we closed all those. A couple of weeks ago, I showed you how it worked, and now we have everything merged to do it. I think we still have stuff to do. One is the rules. Where is the rules issue? Official Falco images, add signatures with cosine. This is for Falco site KKY. Debian from distilless. I think it's just in the rules repo. There you go. And there is one issue. Sign the OCI artifact with cosine. And I think here.
Yeah,
so,
here.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know if you want to merge these as is, or if you would like instead to standardize the output of the build tools that are using that your rules and plugins are using right now, because the output is different. With rules, we actually only output the digest of the single image that is built and then published. Instead, for plugins, the output is pretty different because it's a JSON formatted output, because there are, at the end of the day, multiple artifacts that can be built.
Yeah, this one is so easy that I mean, this one is really this easy. Like, you didn't even have to do like push to the OCI. You didn't even have to change the push to OCI part because it was already outputting the right thing. Where is I was expecting there was a change in this one to, oh no, because you already merged it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I would say please rebase this, and then we can merge it.
Okay. Also, I'd like to add another thing with respect of the standardization of the output, because I would expect, maybe, I don't know if it's correct, but to use Falco CTL also in the CI, and in order to remove the build tools that plugins and rules right now are using, because I think that there is a lot of duplication of the logics that they are used to build the artifacts. Or maybe I'm wrong, correct me.
So those tools have been written and they use Falco CTL functions inside, because the process of building these rules and artifacts are actually a bit more involved, because they have to parse a YAML, because we have a registry.yaml, which has stuff inside, and we have a bunch of other things that, and it needs to generate an index. It does more things than Falco CTL. So that's why this tool exists. I think it's possible to do it, but it's probably would be better to maybe create, I think, an action, a GitHub action, you know, the little action that can do all these things. But I think it's a more complex exercise than it sounds, because you have to figure out exactly what those builder registry things do. And because they do some tags, they do connect to S3, they update the index, so they do a bunch of different things, and then make them homogeneous in such a way that they can be used by both repositories. It's not impossible, but I think it's more complicated than it sounds. So that's, if you have some time to look into it, it would be appreciated, because this is something that everyone that goes through them says, you know, I don't like the fact that these are different. But, and especially as long as there's no bash involved, I would be interested in having these two repos that get that become a little bit better. Then I think we need to add signatures here. So that's the next part. But anyways, does it make sense what I said, Max?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe the first step could be to try to make homogeneous both the tool of plugins and rules. Maybe it could make sense. But anyway, I think it's just a detail, at least in these projects.
And then I would add also for Max that said that okay, cool. The other point, I think, and that's a little task. Does anyone have a bit of time to do it? I think it's like a 2 hours task, so it's nothing too complicated. We need now to add to this index. We could even do it in this call actually, but anyways, we needed to add to this index that that we're going to add. We're going to add the index with the registry and the repo, and now we have to add the signature part to both the plugins and the rules. So this is actually the last piece of the puzzle that we need in order to actually have this working. And of course, at the next release of Falco CTL, it's going to work. I think we could do it as soon as we can, because the index file is going to work either way. So if an old Falco CTL reads an index file that has a signature part, it's going to ignore it because it doesn't know how to compute the signature. And if a new Falco CTL reads an old index file that does not have the signature part, it won't care and it won't check anything because there's no signature to check. So I think we can do it. I will open an issue now for this task. Probably in the both one for the rules and one for the plugin. I'm going to open an issue. If someone has time to work on it, I think it's going to be easy to work on that. The only problem might be testing, and we can do it together. Please do. Otherwise, I will find when I have a bit of spare time and try to do it. Feature request.
So that part will generate the registry index files that are right now in the root of the repositories.
So the index file is already generated by those things. So that's already doable. But we need to add the section for signature.
Yeah. I mean that.
That's and I think I can link the PR that we had over on this over here. We had this PR that that was incoming at that point. So I think I can add that. And it's one of the PRs that have been closed recently. So I can simply add that. So once we actually, and this is probably, I mean, this requires two things. One, that we re-release the rules and, well, release a new version of the rules. And the second is that Falco CTL is going to be updated and released. Until those two happen, we can still update the index, but of course it will have no actual effect. If
Just to be sure I understand
Mhm.
well what you are trying to do in the rules. No, it's in the rules repository. We in the plugins repository, but in the plugins repository, we are supposed to add in the GitHub Actions workflow a step to create the signature and add it in the index YAML used by Falco CTL, right?
So the step to create the signature is already there, but we need to modify the code that generates the index.yaml to add the signature part to it. It's possible that we need to, actually, this since the signature is added later, we probably want to, signature is added later, so it doesn't know at that point. Maybe it could be better to add a step to the pipeline after the signature is applied that makes sure that the signature component is present in the index, generated index. It's possible. We need to think a little bit about it, actually. What's the cleanest way to do it? But you have completely understood
It's not so trivial because we have to run Falco CTL to get the signature and add it for each item we have in the YAML file.
We don't, fortunately, because the signature is very simple. This is the block that we need to add. So the block doesn't actually contain the signature.
Oh, okay.
It only says that this artifact has been generated by GitHub Actions from this repository. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need to distribute keys. You don't need to put anything there. You don't need to call Falco CTL. It's just, it's really as simple as appending text to a YAML file. So the step itself is trivial. Doing it cleanly might require a little bit of thought.
Okay, but for the official plugin, it's trivial because we are adding the signatures for all of them. But for external plugins, which are listed in the list, we are not sure the author, the developer will create the signature for them. So how to know for which item we are supposed to add the signature and for which one we are not supposed to do?
I think I'm throwing ideas around and I would be very happy to follow up with anyone that has time. It could be even an interesting part to add them in the registry itself. Like there is a registry file and we can add, if we have signatures, we can really add the signature part even to the registry, like expecting that. Or if the registry is not the right place to do it, having even a separate file that tells which plugin needs to be signed in which way. In that way, we don't have this problem because we have it.
I will try to take a look.
Sure, it's
just to go. It's Go in YAML, so I pretty know. I know little about
that. Anyway,
but one question: are we building already? Not building. Are we releasing plugin or rules which are referenced in the registry index YAML? That we are not signing?
I don't think so. I think we were going to sign everything.
Okay.
The problem here is that what Thomas was saying is that in this, the index file for plugins could contain stuff that doesn't come from this repo. And in that case, it maybe SecComp agent is somewhere. And we don't right now. Today in the index file, there's nothing that doesn't, like, for now, it's fine. But Thomas was saying, well, maybe we have something else that we want to add to our index file, but it's not hosted by us. And so we cannot just go there and slap our own thing because it won't work. And we need to know what signature that specific repo uses. when we build the index file. So that's what Thomas was saying. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, next thing, signatures to the generated index. Okay. Oh yeah, I should add it.
Maybe we'd like to add a note about this point, this issue.
To add what?
And to add a note about this exact point about how do we want to fill that signatures field when the plugins are not hosted by Falco Security.
Yeah, and this one, yeah.
Maybe we could rely on the author of the plugin. So if the author is Falco Security, we can add. We are responsible, and also we are aware of which certificate CA or whatever should be used to verify that signature, and we know that the signatures are released, but for third-party, let's say third-party plugins, we can say and we can know that. Don't know. I'm just thinking loud. So maybe the author could be.
For the official plugins written under the Falco Security Organization, they are all hosted in the plugins repository. So technically, we have full control over the signature or else. For others, we may ignore them. Right now, we don't have the issue because, like Lucas said, the third-party plugins are not already listed in the index.yaml for Falco Security. So we can keep it like this, keep it things simple and focused on the official plugins, and we'll see later how to integrate external plugins. I wrote a blog post recently about how to help the contributors to distribute their own plugins. And so I gave them the workflows, GitHub Action workflow to package them into OCR artifact. And Vicente did same for the rules. And we did in purpose, we omitted in purpose the signature part to keep things simple. So right now we can just focus about the Falco Security plugins and see in future if people want to sign off their own plugin or not.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We can start simple and then complicate things, but I like to add this when to make sure that we have this that we have tracked. Cool. Okay, and let's take a look if I forgot something. Carlos will take a look when he can to the source of provenance attestation for Falco itself, and I think he can do it before the next release if he has time. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Did you want to add something, or do you have additional questions?
As the global topic is supply chain security, I was thinking also to run some image scanning to be sure we are not releasing images with classic CVEs or not. I'm doing that for Falco Psychic and Psychic UI now, thanks to Trivi, but yeah.
I think this is the other issue. Now, this is something that requires our attention for the next release of Falco. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to look more into it. And the problem here is that is changing the image itself. The problem is that now we have a number of false positives that I don't even want to remember, because the image is still old, that allows you to compile the kernel driver for older versions. I think we can update it. And so if you have an old kernel version, you have to download some other image, while the official one will be more compatible with the newer kernel. So with the newer Ubuntu, with the newer Fedora, but not with the old one. And this will get rid of a lot of potential vulnerabilities that, as I said, there are false positives, but we still want to reduce them. And in terms of the smaller Falco driver image, it's going to be, I think it's going to be something like, we have to pick whether we want to go with the slim image or we want to use the Wolfie image from ChainGuard that they actually POC'd in our repo. I would be happy to have the smaller one, but some users are requesting the bigger one. So we still have to just decide what we want to do, because we have to distribute one image at the end, not many. And I understand the users, but still, I would go with a smaller, because it's security software, and the less attack surface we have, the happier we are, pretty much.
I don't think it's a real issue, because right now the current situation is we have two flavors for the images, but we also have two flavors for the deployment, either with privilege mode or not. So technically, if people want to be secured by design, they should deploy Falco with the less privileged image and install the drivers directly by their own in the kernel or of the host directly. So if people want something secured out of the box, they're supposed to use the small image and inject by themselves the drivers into the kernel. So if they are ready to use the privileged image for the init container, the privileged mode of the deployment for the init container, they are supposed to be ready to deploy an image with possible or at least detected CVEs, even if they are not real CVEs.
Yeah, I see that, but the part where I think we want to move to the smaller image is the actual image that you run after the driver is loaded, the Falco no driver image. That's the one that we have been POCing Wolfie with, not the other. The other will always contain some kind of CVEs, some false positives. By upgrading it, we're going to get rid of some of them, and probably most of them. But we'll always contain it, because because that's how it works. But if we use like Wolfie or something very slim, it's like a distroless for the no driver, then we're going to have 0 CVEs in the image, which would make me a bit happier, because the image that you actually run in production, it contains if you scan it with Privy, you will find nothing, because those images are like Wolfie are updated frequently. They're very tiny. They only have a few components, and the vulnerabilities there are fixed very, very quickly, and there are very few. So I would be happy if our running image for Falco has 0 vulnerabilities. But on the other hand, some users want to run stuff inside that image, and you cannot do it with a small image, with a distressed image. So it's always a bit of a trade-off. That's the conundrum. But if you want to add to the discussion, please, I'm more than happy to continue the discussion on that, because we have to make a decision by Falco 036. So yeah, that's it from my side on this.
I will run a 3V scan over the big image of Falco just to know what CVEs are detected right now, because
I think there's a few hundred.
Yeah, but some of them may be totally irrelevant, because we have a Debian as base image, and Debian is a mess. So maybe we could just
exactly
in the process of the Docker image remove some packages that are not used at all.
Yeah, we can do that by upgrading. because if you upgrade to maybe a more recent Debian or Ubuntu, then you get rid of a lot of stuff, because that image that we have in Debian is embarrassing, because it downloads manually some old packages in order to compile for old kernels. But those old kernels, they were probably all the rage 5 years ago, but today they're not that common, so we can get rid of that, I think.
At some time, we may think to deprecate old kernels for Falco. I know it's not a
Yeah, I don't think this is happening anytime soon, because there's people that are running this on the distributions that are supported, including we have some people running Falco on, I believe, Red Hat 6, which is still supported by large enterprises. So I don't think we will deprecate that anytime soon. And also, but I wish, especially the classic BPF probe, I would be very happy to deprecate it. But there are some environments where you can only run Falco with that. So it's at the end of the day, this is one of the strengths of Falco, that you can really run it everywhere.
I had the same discussion, not the same, but I had a discussion with Ace this afternoon. We're still struggling to know which versions of kernels are used by the Falco users right now. We have a way to have statistics, to metrics about that, but it doesn't rely on us, but more on the CLCF side, because we don't have access to the logs. Basically,
Yeah.
So you know the topic. That if we find out a way to have these information, it will be much more easier for us to know what is the landscape of kernels, drivers used by the end user.
Yeah, let's continue this discussion though, because we do need
Yeah, sure.
to find a solution to it. Well, if there's no additional things, thank you so much for joining tonight. It's been an awesome discussion as usual. Have a good evening to all of you, because I know we are all in Europe, and see you next time.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.